We're live in Next Gen Skills, and we're talking about TinkerCAD. So let's get into a few more of the details, specifically scaling and units. All of you have been working in metric units. So when you grab this cube, oh, there we go. When you click on this cube, you get handles that show up, and if I adjust those handles, I get numbers. But the numbers are nothing to you because they're like 30 and 30 right now. Those are actually millimeters, and the way we change that is we have to go to Edit Grid, and we have to change our default units from millimeters to inches. Now, we could make any solution in metric, no problem. We could measure in millimeters, but most of you are not that familiar with those units because our default units in America are inches. The rule of thumb, the width of the human thumb, a man's thumb, is about 1 inch. That is where the rule of thumb comes from, and that's where our standard system is based off of. It's a very poor system. A foot was the length of a king's foot, right? Not ideal. Anyway, we're going to switch over to inches here, and I want you to see what happens when we update the grid. We'll notice that now when we grab our corners to adjust, we get decimal inches. Now, I have to see if I can, I can zoom in. Whoa, too far. I'm zooming in, trying to zoom in on these numbers for you, because on the screen, it's probably really difficult for you to see them. And they don't magnify. 1.466, whoa, that is a really very finite number, precise, to the thousandth of an inch. 1.466, 0.005 or 5 thousandths of an inch is the thickness of a human hair. So that's how finite this measurement is getting right now. You need to be able to convert decimal inches, like this is at 1.209, into fractional inches. And that's tough to do, to know how finite it is. Now, looking at the grid, let me tell you this. As a general guideline, the darker blue squares are 1 inch squares. Each one of the itty bitty squares on there is an 1/8 inch. So your sizing to print, the biggest you can make something in this class to 3D print is a footprint that is 3 inches by 3 inches. So let me drop this into that dark square and that one. And I'm going to go top view here so that I can look straight down on it and size it. The biggest footprint you could print something, and this can't be solid like this, but it can be close. That would be a 3 right there by 3 vertically and height-wise as well. So we'll make this last one. Oh no, I didn't want that one. Get back to 3 right there. Okay. Where is my vertical right there? Does it have to be exactly 3? Let me explain again or keep explaining. This 3 by 3 by 3 is like the glass box that your object has to fit inside. Okay, it can't be bigger than this, but it also can't be solid 3 by 3 by 3. Why? Home view. There we go. Because that would cost about $60 to print. Because it is 3 inches times 3 inches times 3 inches, which is 27 cubic inches, and the cost per cubic inch for us to print is $3 a cubic inch. So let me give you one more example of that so you understand it. If I bring a box out and that box comes out as a 1 by 1 by 1, if I print that box right now, it's $3. That's how much material it costs. This box that I'm holding up that nobody on the screen can see, the KD box, costs about $5 because it's bigger than a 1 by 1. It has a hole in the middle, so it reduced some of the cost. You have to Swiss cheese your design as much as possible and get rid of as much material as possible to reduce the cost. We cannot afford for everybody to print a $60 cube, Trayton.
It's actually $70.
Well, yeah, it'd be 27 times $3, whatever, okay? So what you've got to do then is you've got to start using the hole features that we already learned. So if I make this into a hole and I make it bigger, and get rid of most of the material in the design of the box. Oh, I'm going to raise it up off the deck too. There, up here. Oh, that's way out in space right now. I'm nervous. Come back. Front view. Oh, front view. Go up, and I'm going to cut the top of the box away here and start to Swiss cheese this. So I can slide this out into the box, and let's say I'm going to make a chair of some kind. How about height? Yeah, it needs to be deeper. I'll move it down. Whoa. Trackpad editing, not ideal. Mouse editing way easier. You know what's going on? I bet I have perspective view on. Yes, I do. Terrible perspective view. Stick with me here, people. So I'm going for that symmetry again like we just practiced. And I got some armrests on there. I'll go back to isometric view or the top corner so I can see. Rotate around and drop this down deeper by grabbing the cone, the black cone. Okay, and now what do I need to do in order to make that cut? Select it and group it. Boom, and now I just cut away about $30. Does that make sense? Now if it was a chair, could I get rid of other stuff here?
Yeah, make it hollow.
Make it hollow, for sure. I could hollow it out. That's awesome, Trayton. That's actually called shelling. That would be really cool. I could hollow the bottom side. I could shoot holes in the back side, right? Because I don't, if it's a chair, it doesn't need to be solid. Yeah, question. I could put legs on it instead of having just a solid bottom. Yep, I could shell through the bottom too. So you're starting to get it. We want to reduce as much material as possible. So we just talked about two things. Changing your units to standard so we can work in the world of inches, and then Swiss cheesing or reducing your design in material as much as possible. Part of this is it's going to have to go through a final review with me. And that review process involves Schoology. Inside TinkerCad City, there is a list that you have to go down with your design. And it is called the Fit and Finish Checkoff. And this is what it looks like. The first thing is cost efficiency. We just talked about it. Have you Swiss cheesed your design? Have you reduced all unnecessary material as much as possible, either through design or cutting blocks of unnecessary material away? Form. Have you rounded corners and edges of all shapes that allow it? Have you added surface embellishment like textures, shapes, maybe your initials or letters embossed in it? We haven't even done the initials or letters. You've done it on backpack tags.
I know how to do it.
Good. Check this out back here. Let me ungroup. And before I merge these together, instead of just making them really sharp, square edges, why don't I radius those edges to make it nice? Grab this and round those corners off. Same with my cutaway shape. And now it's actually going to look like something I would sit in because the edges are much softer. It would look like furniture instead of a really poorly designed box. And group. And now I've got some rounded edges on my corners, soft edges. Okay, so that involves rounding corners and edges. Last thing is function, and this is the third video that we're going to create. So I'm going to stop this one right now. We went through fit and finish. Let me see if I've got anything else on my list. Units, sizing, cost per cubic inch, and Swiss cheesing. I think we're good. And seam.